Hey everybody, this is Alan Ting, TEDx speaker, #1 best-selling author. And today, welcome to another session of Expert Series interview. Now, this topic I'm really truly excited about because, as a kid, I'm always jumping up and down and oftentimes kind of get booed on, right? Kind of like get pushed down on. And I'm trying to figure out a reason why. And today's topic is all about how dancing inspires resilience and joy. And we have a special speaker who's also a TEDx speaker as well. His name is Damilare Adeyari is his last name. We'll have a pleasure to welcome him. He's a transformational TEDx speaker. He's also a peak performance coach, motivational movement leader at Tony Robbins events, and that speaks volume, right? And he helps entrepreneurs to increase energy, to expand their success to all around every aspect of the areas of life with full joy and fulfillment. So without further ado, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Alan. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And yes, we're here to dance, move, and explain how dance actually is a tool for resilience and joy. It's something I live in my life, and I can't wait to share with your audience today.
Thank you for that. And I love your TEDx talk as well. It's been very inspiring. And see, you've got to move all your audience to stand up and jump up and move around. That's truly amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Going into the TEDx talk, one of the things that I thought about, which was not just for the TEDx talk, but for the way I do things, is information is great. Information helps. It informs us. It makes us more knowledgeable. What's even better than mere information is an experience. And so in everything I do, I always want to go beyond just information to create an experience, which is why during my TEDx talk, I give them the information and I said, hey, I could also give you experience. Let's get up and move our body. And together we did, and that was amazing. I'm glad that we did that.
So can you share with us why dance matters and how can it inspire resilience and joy?
Absolutely. First of all, let me start by saying in my definition, I go beyond dance as we traditionally know it, right? Because when people hear the word dance, it's very easy to say, oh, I don't know how to dance, or I have two left feet, or things like that. It's important to look at it from a wider perspective. It is movement. It is joyful movement to music. It is moving our bodies. And so once we bring into that level of just joyful movement to music, we realize that inherently there's already joy in it, right? The fact that you're having a good time, you're listening to music, you're moving your body, that inherently allows us to experience joy. Now, when you look at the science of it, the neuroscience of it, when we move our bodies, such as in dancing to music, it releases neurotransmitters like endorphins, which is known as the happy hormone. Or if we're dancing in a group with other people, there's also dopamine and serotonin. And all these neurotransmitters are the feel-good hormones in the body. They are the ones that not only helps us elevate our emotional state in the moment, but also gives us like focus and clarity of mind and determination to push through whatever circumstances or challenges we may be going through in the moment. And so that makes dance, or like I said, joyful movement, a very important part of our existence.
That's interesting that you brought that up because I noticed that, so I've been studying a lot about trauma, right? And I noticed just about every culture have their form of movement. Like, so for example, Argentinian, they're known for what? Argentinian tango.
Tango, yes, yeah. Absolutely.
One of the most beautiful dance I ever seen, right? But what most people don't know, that came out, Argentino tango came out from oppression, is because people so oppressed, like remember all these immigrants coming in, there's slavery all around, things like that. So in order to bring more joy into their life, bring more resilience in their life, that's how they adopted the Argentino tango to start with. And in the Asian culture and Chinese culture, if you know Tai Chi, if you look at it, obviously it's more of martial arts, but more fluid. But if you look at it, there's also incorporation of dance movement in there. And then back to the African countries, oh my gosh, their drum dances, right? It's so visceral, it's so raw, it's got so much energy. And all that stuff helped us heal through the trauma process. And I love the fact that you connected the neuroscience piece into why dancing matters.
Yeah, and you give some very good examples through like the Tai Chi and Argentinian tango and some of the West African dances. It's all over. So when you expand that also to include Latin America, right? So when people were forcibly moved from Africa, from the coast of Africa to Latin America and other parts of the world, it was the music and dance that they kept as not just a way of preserving their culture, but as a way of resilience through the difficulty of those periods. And so when you then look at the new forms of music and dance like salsa, bachata, mambo, cha-cha, a lot of those was born out of resistance as a way to, again, evolve through oppression, but also, as a solace for them through the trauma. The same thing to capoeira, and one thing I love about capoeira is that yes, it's martial arts, but also there's still the music and the dancing that's involved, which is actually what makes dancing important. The movement of our body, rhythmically, or just expression to music is really what creates, those neurochemicals in our body that makes us feel good, that helps us go through difficult times and be able to pull forward through the challenge.
Now, with that said, can you tell us more about, so you know how our societies, especially when it comes to education,
Right.
early on in childhood, whether you're kindergarten or first grade and all the way up to fifth grade and all the way up to high school, it's like, shut up, sit down and listen. Absolutely no movement in the process. And now that we're much older, we actually learn that, sitting is actually the new smoking, right? As they say.
Yeah,
So,
yep.
so tell us more about that. I know you just mentioned you have a daughter in kindergarten as well. Talk about that stigma and how actually sitting for a prolonged period of time actually stop us from actually learning and being ourselves.
Exactly. And so let's look at it first of all as an adult, right? As an adult, sitting for a long time, one of the most common pain in North America is back pain, lower back pain, right? And that comes from sitting for a long time. And so we're sitting down, we're working on the screen. One of the people I listen to said, we're going from box to box. We sit in our box car, we stay in front of our box computer, we get home and we watch our box TV, and everything is about keeping box. And again, going back to then as child, a lot of those information, the intention, I would say, was good, right? The intention was trying to keep structure. On the line of that is trying to keep order and control. So sit down, keep quiet, sit down here, walk there, move there. While trying to create structure, they are also taking away one of the most important things that create fun and joy for kids and eventually adults, which is movement, play, dance, music. Like all of those is really what creates the excitement in the body, which helps us feel positive feeling. When you look at it in a wider context, you realize that once we lose that in childhood, it's difficult to get more as adults because we get into this very conformed structure of here's how life is, and we miss out on the things that actually create joy for us in life, and more importantly, the things that also work for us as a tool to go through life challenges.
And that's a resilience part that comes in, right? Can you share with us, your personal story of like how dancing helped you overcome like a challenging moment in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I remember in my experience was 17 years ago when my mom passed on after a long-term illness, and it coincided with around the time where I actually had a dance audition for a competition. And so I was probably a few hours from performing on stage when I heard that my mom had passed on, and it was sad. My mom and I were very close. She was more just like my mom. She was my friend, confident. We were really that close. And so already the fact that she was sick was already hard, and then to learn that she passed on made it even more difficult. And so I, locked myself in the room, shut the door, and was crying. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to, in my grief, in the moment, I didn't want to interact with the outside world. And as I faced those emotions by myself, it was almost like I was receiving an inspiration. I asked myself, I said, well, if mom was here right now, what would mom have me do? And I thought to myself, mom would have me go out and dance, because my mom also loved music. My mom also loved to dance. My mom would tell me stories about when she was a little kid and her parents were looking for her. They knew for sure that she was in the neighbor's house dancing. Right? And so, the idea that she loved music, my mom spent a lot of money on cassette tapes, because she loved music, she would dance. And so it was sort of like continuing that. And so I thought about it, it's like, actually dancing is not just for the competition, it's actually a way to honor mom and also a way for me to process the feelings I was going through. And so I turned on music. I started from, slow worship music to kind of center myself, and eventually to fast beat dancing music. And I danced. I ended up going to the audition, and in that instance, I won the regionals of the audition. This was back in Nigeria, where I'm originally from. And then I ended up going, from regional to semi-regional to national, and finished first runner-up in that competition then. And, just shows, and all of this was happening while as a family, we're grieving my mom. Through the burial arrangements, through the grieving as a family, through just being there for each other, dance was what pulled me through. The fact that I could be with family and also go dance. And in the moment of dancing, I could be there in the present and allow myself fully express and dance and just, for lack of a better term, lose myself to the music and dance. I was able to gain that resilience and gain that joy in a difficult period that helped me push through, and beyond myself, I was able to extend that to my family too, because when I showed up with my family in a much more grounded state, having processed my feelings through dance, that also helped them, connect as well. And as a family, we're able to go through that experience together. I mean, and when you lose a loved one, right, you always still remember them. However, to date, one of the ways I honor and remember my mom, and not just me, but my siblings too, is through music and dancing, because it was something she loved. It was something that also helps me process my emotions. And it's also one of the ways that I share the joy with the world too, whether in a small dance fitness class or on a big stage, helping lead movements in big personal development seminars like, for Tony Robbins, like I do. It's just realizing that dance, movement, music is a tool that has helped me and one that I continue to share with people.
Wow, that's such an inspiring story. And as you're talking about through this, it's like you're talking about how do I best honor my mom, right? Even through grief, through dancing, because your mom loved dancing so much that you actually dance with her in the process. And in many ways, it inspires me that, when you're dancing, you're living life.
Absolutely.